So, welcome everyone. I'm Alexander Mihalcha, and today we have one of the industry leaders, Eric Bidinger, founder of Luca AI. Welcome, Eric. How are you doing today?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And I'm excited to have you on the podcast today, and I'm sure you're going to be of great value for the audience. Now, before we dive in, could you give us a quick overview of what Luca AI does?
Luca AI is an agent chatbot that helps e-commerce founders cut through the fog of their business and connect all corners of their business to a single chat interface that allows them to talk to their business about data, about ops, about ads, about finance, about strategy. So it's a general purpose tool, general purpose AI tool for e-commerce business.
Okay, that's really fascinating. And basically, what inspired you to create Luca AI? Was there a specific moment or experience that sparked this journey?
Yes, I launched a startup 8 years ago that was a direct to consumer business, so something in an area that's very similar to what e-commerce founders um, are selling into. And at the time, obviously, we didn't have AI, and I knew in that business I was drowning in data. I was drowning in siloed data. So constantly tab switching between reports, spreadsheets, SaaS products, and it was very difficult for me and the team to be able to connect the dots between those various tools. And I thought that with the advent of AI, wouldn't it be great if we could build a very simple interface that would allow someone like me running a business like this to essentially query their data via natural language to be able to extract real insights. And by real insights, I mean the ability to connect various corners of the business into composite analysis. So how does this area of the business impact that area of the business?
Yeah.
Knowing that the tools that are existing have data on this area and data on that area, but there's no real way to connect the two absent doing some pretty in-depth analysis.
Right. Makes sense. But for example, what was your background before starting this venture?
So I'm an engineer by training. I'm an aerospace engineer. Also did applied math, but then I went into finance for 17 years and left the world of finance in 2016. And I've been on this startup journey or tech startup journey ever since.
Okay, that's interesting. But for example, if you're looking back, what would you wish you've done differently in those your early days?
Yeah, the list is very long. The the startup world is so different from anything else really because not only do you have to invent something new, you have to have the ability to convince clients that this something new is better than the way they are currently doing things, which is obviously not easy. So at the same times that you're building, you also have to sell and convince, all the while in an environment where clearly everything needs to be built from scratch within the internal organization. So both internal facing, external facing, in terms of products, in terms of go to market, everything needs to be built from the ground up in an environment that is very competitive. It's very rare for someone to have a truly original idea that is one of a kind. More often than not, even if you think you have an original idea, actually someone else is doing something similar somewhere
Yeah,
else
yeah.
in the world. So it is very competitive, strangely, and so just to be able to convince people to adopt your product is difficult. To convince people to adopt your product in the context of a competitive market where other startups are offering the same thing, it's even more difficult. So you're just compounding the levels of difficulties. And so I guess the learnings from me is that you need to be incredibly optimistic by nature, thinking that despite the fact that the odds are stacked against you, you still are going to be successful. which is rationally, it doesn't make any sense. you shouldn't
Yeah, yeah,
you shouldn't be doing it. At the same time, it's truly, it's exhilarating, right? You're building something new. You're building something that hopefully to me resonates. It feels meaningful. I'm very happy. I've been doing this for the past 8-9 years now. I wouldn't I wouldn't change anything now. Obviously, the journey itself has been very hard because the life of a startup founder is incredibly difficult.
yeah. Right, right. But you have to like be disciplined with this and be consistent in order to achieve that success.
Resilience, I think, is the word, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can't let
exactly.
go. You have to carry on, because you get slapped in the face continuously with client. Or, well, let's start with being able to assemble a team. So people are generally saying, no, I don't want to join the team because it's too risky, right? So the good
Hmm.
people are hard to find. Then once you have the team, you build the product, you need to be able to sell the product to clients who have no idea who you are. So
Yeah,
that's very difficult as well. And then you need to fund your startup. So you need to convince investors that this is a worthwhile investment opportunity. And that is 99% rejection rate, right? So if you're not
hmm,
comfortable if you're not comfortable with being told no
yeah,
continuously, yeah, it's not for you. But so you need that bit of resilience to get you over those challenges and persevere. And it's only through perseverance that eventually something good comes out.
exactly, 100%. Because you mentioned this, for example, what were the biggest challenges you faced as a founder that Luca is designed to solve?
Again, this drowning in different data silos and the difficulties in being able to connect the dots between, for example, distribution and finance, or between marketing and strategy. I think e-commerce leaders have access to all that data, but that data is siloed. Possible for them to do some analysis and get some heuristics around, if they poke the system at one end, what happens at the other end. But A, it takes a lot of time to do this analysis, and B, they're not equipped to be doing those kinds of simulation because it's not their business. Their business is to sell their brand to their customer, not to figure out in the background how to build the technology that allows them to run their business better. So I think the tool that we build is actually incredibly suited to give them peace of mind, so they can focus on developing their product. They can focus on selling to their customer.
Right.
And it's something that Luca AI in the background, if they have any question on their business, and as a leader of a business on a day-to-day basis, there will be question that pops out continuously. Hey, what if this happened? Or what if I were doing this? Oh, I wonder what that number was. Being able to have the answer in your pocket immediately in seconds
Yeah.
is incredibly valuable, right? And so that's what we're offering our clients, and it really was born out of frustration that we felt ourselves with our inability to do this when we were in the shoes of our client.
Yeah, makes sense. And for example, how does Luca addresses the jungle of AI and help businesses navigate the AI landscape?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So today, I think business leaders in general are just being bombarded. It's like drinking from a fire hose. There's AI agents everywhere. Um, every single legacy business is now offering an AI agent, and then on top of that, you have new startups that are, don't have a legacy business, that are also offering AI agents that are meant to replace the legacy business. It's crazy how much noise there is, because
Yeah.
as a leader, you know that you're going to have at some point to have to integrate AI into your workflows, because it is a productivity tool. And if you don't, then you will lose in terms of productivity, whereas your competitors who adopt the technology won't. But it's very difficult to know where to start. And today, when we look at the market, it's clear that there is a huge number of AI solutions in each vertical. So there's AI solutions for finance, there's AI solutions for SDRs, there's AI solutions for marketing, for content creation, there's AI solutions for ERPs with Shopify. But all of those are very siloed. And there's no general purpose tool out there in the market that we've seen that's able to cut through all of this and that offers a one-stop shop, turnkey. It takes 5 minutes to install or bring to bear in your business, and then boom, suddenly your business is AI enabled across all the functional areas of your
Yeah.
business. So that's a novelty. We haven't really seen it out there, and this is where we're differentiating ourselves.
Right, right. Makes sense. But for example, how are you helping businesses overcome the fear of AI implementation? Because this is one of the most common.
Absolutely, and we see that a lot
Yeah.
with our clients. Quite few of them are forward thinking and thinking like, look, I need AI, and I'm gonna actively search for a way to implement AI. Most of them just know that they need to implement. They don't really know how to go about doing it. Like you said, they fear the technology because they don't really understand it, and it's not their job. And that's why our solution from the ground up was designed to be frictionless in terms of onboarding. It literally takes 3 minutes for a client to plug their data sources to our systems. And then we do everything. And all they have, and it's the only thing that matters now, is access to a chatbot through which they can talk to their business. Like, so imagine the workflow. They plug their business data in less than 3 minutes. The next day, we come back with access to a chatbot that allows them to query their business through across sales, across ops, across data analysis, across market research, across HR, across compliance, across strategy. So it is effortless for our clients. They don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
It's like you just going onto ChatGPT for the first time, getting a subscription, and then suddenly you have access to ChatGPT 5, right? And it's like the most intelligent tool out there. It's as easy as that.
Okay, so basically the setup is done for you as a service.
Correct. The setup is done by us for you. It's designed to be frictionless. It's designed to be done in a couple of minutes. And the idea is that we abstract all the complexity
Yeah.
that resides in the background so that all you have is a chatbot window. Today, actually, I'm saying a chatbot window. Today, you're typing. In a couple of months, you're going to be able to just speak. You don't even need to type anymore. You just talk to your business, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. To
Yeah,
make this smooth as possible for the users.
exactly.
Yeah. And for example, could you explain how Luca helps businesses leverage their data without compromising security?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was saying just a second ago that we're abstracting all the complexity, part of the complexity is the data security and the safety and the privacy. So just making sure that, I mean, obviously business data is extremely confidential and you don't want
Yeah.
this to be leaked out in the world. So to any one of your listeners, please don't dump your business data into ChatGPT. It's a bad idea because then you don't know what's gonna happen to it and you lose control. So the way we do it is we store the client's data in a secure cloud, and then when a client asks a query that requires, as part of the answer, a particular data point in that entire database, our system is going to go and get just that data point, so 2 or 3 numbers, and then send that to the LLM, and in obviously in an anonymized fashion. So whatever goes out in the internet and comes back to us in the form of an answer to the query is just 3 numbers out of a huge database, right? And you do this for every query. And in that way, you guarantee that nothing confidential leaks out there, because all you have that goes out to the internet is just a bunch of numbers that without any context are meaningless. So that's the trick. And I think that being able to leverage the power of AI necessitates the AI to have access to your data. But if you're not building something like we build, which guarantees that the data is not shared widely on the internet, then you end up in a situation where you know you need to use the power, leverage the power of the AI, but you're not in a position to actually make sure the AI has access to the data. So and so you have this conundrum, and so our technology kind of bridge that gap and allows the AI to be intelligent, because the AI is intelligent in general, and super intelligent as far as the business is concerned, because it has access to the relevant data from that business.
Yeah, so basically this is like a blockchain but for data, if I'm right.
Yeah, kind of. Think of it that way. Exactly. So it's exactly.
Okay, okay, great. And for example, how does Luca differ from generic AI tools like ChatGPT, and what is your unique approach in the market?
Yeah. So it doesn't differ. So it doesn't differ and it differs. So it doesn't differ in the sense that Luca uses ChatGPT. So it uses OpenAI and it uses Gemini from Google. So we're using the underlying foundational models that we are all using as consumers. What I just explained, the ability to go and grab data from your database only to answer that so only the data specific to answer necessary to answer that specific user query. It allows us to provide answers that are the opposite of generic. So if you're asking a question to ChatGPT, by definition, you're going to get the median opinion of how ChatGPT has been trained, which is the median opinion of the world's population, essentially, or the median opinion of the corpus of the internet, which represents the knowledge of the world. So most of the time, when you ask questions to ChatGPT, what you're getting is a mix of very good and a mix of very generic. So boilerplate language, which is good, but not super useful for
Yeah.
running a business. So with our system, we've been able to take the good of the chat GPT, i.e. the intelligence, and be able to provide, because it's based on the user's data and we're able to just go and get the right data. You take the good of the underlying LLMs and you're able to answer surgically. So when a user is asking a question about their business, and the answer is quantitative and requires a bit of thinking about strategy, the answer that's going to come back is going to be one paragraph with the numbers that you want. So for example, whatever your LTV over CAC last month was X, and by the way, that represents a declining trend of X% over the last 3 months, and therefore you should be doing this. That's what our system does, right?
Yeah,
So targeted, surgical, qualitative, analytical,
yeah,
and very precise
yeah,
in the advice that it gives.
yeah. Interesting approach here. And for example, what are the most impactful use cases you've seen with Luca?
So we see use cases across sales, and not more like a client management. So clients who are using the system to do some fairly complex data analysis around their cohorts, around their churn, around their drop-off rates, around the composition of the baskets of their clients, and whether that has any correlation with people just buying more or buying less in the future. So, pretty heavy, complex stuff. We see people using the system for strategic thinking around new products, strategic thinking around financial scenarios. So, hey, what happens if? So, if I turn on my advertising, how does that bring forward my break-even point? Does that make sense for me to do or not? Or does it make sense for me to change my portfolio of product composition so that let's say, as an extreme example, I stop selling the bottom 50% of my products, does that make sense for me? I mean, I'm gonna release cash because I don't have inventory anymore, but then obviously I'm also gonna get
Yeah.
an impact on revenues and profits. But what is the trade-off between those two things? So you see people using the system for that. You see people using the system at a more practical level for inventory management. So based on sales velocity assumptions and the lead time, when do I need to order certain products? And so the system, Luca, is going to come back and say, well, look, you need to place this order on that date, and you need to place that order on that date. So that's a super useful tool. And then we see people starting to use the system for business intelligence. So the ability to query the system to ask, like, what are the 5 important things that I need to worry about over the next 3 months? So you can start a conversation with Luca on that thread, and Luca is going to say, well, do you want me to design you a dashboard that allows you to monitor all of this? So you say yes. So the dashboard is designed. So now you have a dashboard, but that's tailored for you, right? So that's a
Yeah.
dashboard that's tailored for you, that was done like this. And then you tell Luca, okay, every time, so I don't have the time to monitor this dashboard every hour. So every time X happens, let me know, right? And X can be anything that you choose, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
a use case would be, alert me every time my competitors are getting a negative review.
Hmm.
Simple like that. Oh, alert me every time I'm getting a negative review, right? Like in real time, like tell me, it's like someone left a negative review. I need to go out on Trustpilot immediately or on Google immediately, and then kind of reply to that negative review and explain to them what happened. So it's a general purpose tool. People are using it for a variety of things. We've seen people using it for compliance, like literally having Luca help them design a GDPR compliant strategy that's purpose built for their business, given their size. So you don't want to go full bells and whistles. You just want something that's good enough so that you're GDPR compliant, but not crazy. And then we've seen people use Luca for personal growth, right? Just like people use
Yeah.
ChatGPT. It's just they use Luca. They ask him like, what should be my diet plan this week, and comes up with okay, well, how many calories do you want to eat, and how many grams of protein do you want to eat per day, right? And then it comes up with a
Right.
menu. So yeah, it's it feels quite magical when you use
Yeah.
it and do a lot of
Right,
things.
right. For example, what I think to add more, if you don't already have this, like to put extra tips, because, for example, some of the business owners, even myself, I don't think about, okay, what should I ask? And like to add some tips, okay, did you think about the finance or did you think about X thing? So do you have like similar to this?
Absolutely. So what we have is, when you ask a question and Luca answers, always at the bottom, you're going to have a suggestion for
Yeah.
some adjacent inquiries that is not exactly the same, but something that's worth pursuing, right? So that you have as a table stakes. Now, every day or every 2 days, depending, the system does it itself. Every day or every 2 days, the system is going to contact you and say, hey, Alexander, have you thought about this?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or do you think it would be useful to know this? And then the system is actually prompting you to start a chat as well, right? So I agree with you. The what we see with our clients at the moment is that they're using it for very specific use case in their own business, and they don't yet have a sense of the breadth of what the
Exactly.
system can do. But that takes time, because I want Luca to feel like he's just a remote employee, to whom you interact with just like you interact with a remote employee, via Slack, via email, via WhatsApp. Um, and and just like a human employee, it takes time to build trust, right? Like you hire someone generally to do a particular job, and then they do that job well. And then if you feel that that person is very competent, then suddenly you give them more tasks and more responsibilities. And that's what I'm hoping we're going to see with Luca as well, because people are going to slowly realize, like, oh, like you said, wait a second, I can actually use it for this as well, as opposed
Yeah,
to.
yeah. Right, right. Yeah, because sometimes a lot of us are so lost in the sauce, right? And we don't think about, okay, but what should I think about this? And that's why I'm asking you.
Of course. So when we onboard a client, like I said, 3 minutes to onboard a client, and then the next day they gain access to the chatbot. Together with that, we spend some time with the client, right? We explain to the
Yeah.
client, look, this is your particular pain point today, and this is why you want to use Luca. This is why you ask us to connect your data. But by the way, it can do many other things, right? So we're still hand holding our clients. We're still showing them all the things that it can do. We have guides that our clients are using that shows them the various use cases or the various areas of the business in which Luca can be useful. But like you said, I mean, it's over time, it's people are gonna start using it in a much broader way than they are than the initial impetus for them to start using the system, which generally is quite narrow.
Right, right, right. And then I have a curiosity about this because I think this is very interesting. So, for example, when we talk to potential clients, what's the biggest misconception they typically have about what you do?
Very good. So I wouldn't say a misconception. I would say what we are against is the status quo. So for our clients, generally, it is, look, I've built my business the way I've built my business. It's working okay. I know how to do AI, so I'm listening to you and I'm listening to what the system can do. They see a demo of the system and they're like, wow, this is amazing. But then there's no look, you need to do it this week,
Yeah,
because then they get, they have to fight fires elsewhere in the business. So it's not really a misconception, because I think intuitively people are very well aware of what the system can do, because people are well aware of what ChatGPT can do in their own life, right? It's a very useful tool. It augments our own capabilities. It increases productivity by quite a lot. So I think that's not the challenge. The challenge is to find a trigger for these people to say, okay, like, look, I need to do it this week, because
yeah,
otherwise I'm going to lose business, or otherwise I'm going to tie up too much money in inventory, or otherwise I'm going to miss the growth opportunity somewhere, or I'm going to make a wrong decision because it wasn't data driven and it was just a hunch, as opposed to just doing the analysis and coming up with a quantitative or an analytical answer. So I think that's a but that's fine. It just takes a little bit of time to just educate the market on what the tools can do, and soon people are gonna realize. Look, our motto is like, everyone needs Luca, meaning literally that the goal is that within a year or two, everyone who's in e-commerce will know that they need Luca, and if they don't
yeah,
have
right.
Luca, they will be at a competitive disadvantage versus their competitors.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. And now, looking at a broader industry, how do you see AI transforming business management in the next few years?
As big an impact as it has in our private life. I don't know about you. I mean, I use ChatGPT all the time. I use Luca all the time in my work. We're using the system that we built. I use ChatGPT in my personal life all the time for everything. Um, every question that I have, I use ChatGPT. I think that in an enterprise environment, in B2B space, it's going to be the same. If you don't integrate AI, your productivity growth is going to be a fraction of what it could be. And ultimately, the whether it's the road is that people who adopt it are going to grow a lot faster, and people who don't adopt it are just not going to grow as fast. It's as simple as that. So it's kind of a make or die tool. Everyone is telling you that this is as big of the as the internet, and it is. It's like in '96, if you say, yeah, I don't want to do email, I'm just going to stick to fax machines.
Yeah,
It's just you don't have a lot left to live as a business. if you don't uh, if you don't adopt those new technologies. I mean, and they're amazing technologies, and it's meant to make your life easier, right? That's the whole point.
Right.
Is really just a quality of life thing, a quality of business life thing. We have a client this week. What day are we? We're Friday. We had a client this week who started the week with a huge question, like it was like a massive pain point. They use Luca, and I say they because there's several people within the company who are using Luca. They use Luca. In 3 minutes, they had the answer that they wanted. It would have taken them a few days to get that answer. In 3 minutes, they got the answer, and then they were done. I was like, okay, great. You know, like the high impact item that needed to be done this week for them was done on Tuesday morning
Yeah.
after 3 minutes. And then they can move on to something else, right? But
Right. Right.
so when I'm talking about quality of life, it really is like if you had this magic wand where every time you have a problem, boom, problem solved. I mean, you know, not I'm exaggerating a little bit, not everything, but everything that is data driven, problem solved. I mean, imagine how much freer you are to run the human aspect of your business, meaning, you know, taking care of your clients, calling them, taking care of your team, speaking with them, and thinking about what you're going to be doing next from a product point of view or product development point of view, as opposed to just, you know, worrying about the nitty gritty of running your business on a day-to-day basis. So I think, I, and again, closing the circle on why we created the tool, is we created the tool that we wished we had as uh, startup founders, right? Something
Yeah.
that just frees up so much time that you can focus on other things that AI can't do. But all the stuff that AI, for which AI is good, just delegate it to AI.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. But for example, what advice would you give to businesses looking to implement AI solutions?
Do your research. Like I said, it's a jungle out there. There's a lot of tools. There's a lot of good tools, honestly. Um, but just like you don't want to, so think of AI as an employee. You don't
Yeah.
want to hire suddenly five employees, one that is going to be doing sales, one that's going to be doing finance, one that's going to be doing research, one that is going to be doing data science. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't hire all these people in one go, which is a little bit what the market is now offering, is AI tools for each of those areas. What you would do is you would say, okay, so out of all those things, which are the biggest pain points today, is you pick one, and then I'm going to talk my own book now, but like this is why you would get Luca. I said, okay, Luca can help me with this. Oh, and by the way, he can also help me with the other stuff. So you start
Yeah.
with, you know, the wedge in is that particular problem that you're facing. So you hire one employee to deal with that. And then you realize that that employee is very good at other things as well. This is how I would advise business leaders to be thinking. And the tool that we've developed allows them to implement exactly that strategy. You get Luca to solve a particular type of problem, and then you start deploying Luca in other areas of your business. Happens to be the same tool.
Okay. But for example, if they didn't know exactly what the problem is in their business.
I say that you have to start thinking about ways to run your business more efficiently, because the world is moving on. Like the train is leaving the station. People are leveraging AI everywhere. Obviously, when you think about software engineering, when you think about the legal profession, when you think about accounting, you see how these industries are massively adopting AI.
Yeah.
And you see what it means. It means that a software engineer suddenly becomes capable of doing the work of five people. Um, so right now, we're still in the very early days. The low-hanging fruits industries where AI is the most powerful are being disrupted at the moment. Whichever industry you're in, don't worry, it's going to come at some point. Like
Yeah, of course.
you're going to get disrupted. Even podcast, by the way. I mean, when
Yeah,
you look at a notebook LM and what it can do, I mean, basically you just shove it a bunch of text, and what comes out of it is a 30-minute podcast between people. I mean, it's incredible.
yeah,
So there's nowhere to hide. Basically, it's not
right.
because your industry hasn't been disrupted yet that it won't happen tomorrow. It will happen. I mean, even the blue collar jobs are going to be disrupted by robots, right? Like intelligent robots. So literally, there's nowhere to hide. So the sooner you educate yourself in how you can leverage this tool to help you run your business better, the better you'll be off.
Of course, of course. Yeah, really good advice though. But it sounds like you're ahead of the curve in many ways, which makes me curious about your growth plans. So, how are you looking to grow for the next year?
So there's the technical development roadmap is so full. There's so many things that we can do with the system. Um, so, like I said, just the way we interact with the system is going to change. So instead of typing, we're soon going to be speaking to the system. I think there's the lots of technical work that needs to be done around memory, short-term memory, medium-term memory, long-term memory. So when we speak as humans, we're able to, and then so if we're friends and we speak, we're able to very accurately make a difference between something that was said a year ago that is still true versus something that was said 6 months ago that is no longer true because your tastes have changed in the last 3 months. So all
Yeah,
those nuances, which are quite tricky, um, are going to become available to the system. So when you start using Luca today, and you're going to continue using it for a year later, Luca is going to be someone who's going to remember all the conversations that you've had, but that are going to be, he's going to be able to just extract which points of those conversation threads are important still at that point in time. So that's a very important thing, because that really makes it a real kind of human to human interaction, which is what you want, because then it runs on autopilot
yeah,
in the back of your
yeah,
mind, and you don't have to really instruct the system. The whole agentic stuff today, the tools is an augmentation tool, right? It generates and then you validate. Luca generates, you validate. He generates, you validate. Soon you're going to short circuit that cycle. Luca is going to generate and he's going to validate himself and he's going to execute, right? So we're going towards that paradigm where you tell the agent, look, I want this to be done, go and do it. I don't need to know the details. And then you just go and execute, right? So that's going to be a mental leap that people have to take, because you're going to have to essentially um, allow the system to take action in your action space. So you lose agency of your browser, right? Like your browser becomes the playground of the agent, and the agent is going to click on buttons. He's going to have your credit card details, and he's going to be able to do a lot of things. So we're going there. And then one aspect that we didn't talk at all because we didn't have the time is that Luca is also able to provide working capital instantly, because the data that we use to be able to provide the intelligence and the analysis layer that we have built on top of the data, that allows our system to talk to you very intelligently about your business. That's exactly the same tech that is required to be able to price risk accurately. And what we thought would be very cool is if you have a conversation with Luca that talks about all kinds of areas of your business, and Luca helps you come up with a specific strategy, meaning like, okay, over the next 3 months, this is what you're going to be doing. So like I was saying, the generate, and then and
yeah.
then you validate that strategy. We thought, wouldn't it be amazing if, because we have all the tech, if at the end of this conversation, Luca would say, okay, these are the things that you're going to be doing over the next 3 months. And by the way, you need to invest 370K in your business in order to put this strategy into action. would you like 370K from us, right? And so we're able to provide that capital almost instantly as well. Like, so we can price the capital in real time. We'd say, okay, so to take 370K from us, it would cost you X. Would you like it or not? And if the client says yes, then the money is in his bank account or her bank account the next day. So you can see we're expanding the range of use cases for the system in all kinds of directions, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
really
yeah.
needs to become the single entry point, the single window into a business that allows the leaders of that business to do everything, including gaining access to finance.
Yeah, right.
So it becomes a one-stop shop.
Right. And most importantly, what you mentioned is it basically adapt to your new identity over here. And this
Yes.
is the amazing part. Yeah.
Yeah, and today we do that with our clients when we ask them. We ask them, would you like Luca to be speaking to you like a woman or like a man, right? Would you like Luca to address you in a formal fashion or in a casual fashion? And then the client, the users have the ability to literally just prompt how they want Luca to. So you will always be Harvard educated XYZ, right? And you're an expert in this, and you're an expert in that, and it makes a difference when you prompt your agent to do specific things like this. Then you can really tailor the tone of the conversation to your own liking. So
Yeah.
a client in San Francisco will want to use the system that whatever sells subscription pet food will want a different type of interaction than a fashion brand in London. It's just different people,
Yeah, exactly.
tastes, different ways of doing things. So you can tailor all of that.
Right, right. And as you wrap up, I'm curious about what's on the horizon. So, when you look at Luca AI journey over the next few years, what possibilities excite you the most?
The ability to help, genuinely help users, e-commerce leaders run their business better with something that feels magical to use. Meaning, it's kind of this universal problem solver. Oh, I have a problem here. What if Luca could help me solve it? Oh, look, he just solved it. Great.
Yeah,
Let's move on to some that that kind of intangible um, sidekick or power user by your side that you can rely on all the time. Like it's there, and so psychologically it just frees a lot of your mental bandwidth to just focus on other things because you know that someone's got your back.
right.
I would love for people eventually to be able to think that way, right? And that for Luca to be the person that's got their back. Don't worry, go on weekend, go on holidays. Someone is there to monitor the business for you. And if there's anything important that happens, I'll send you a WhatsApp. But until then, just chill. Yeah. So that would be amazing, right? If we could get to that point. And I
Yeah,
think
sounds.
I say when we get to that point, because there's no reason why
Yeah,
today the system is good enough to start doing this, and in 6 months it's going to be even better, and in a year it's going to be even better, just because the AI technology is just becoming better and better and better.
yeah. It sounds like a fairy tale at the first sight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for listeners who want to learn more or potentially work with Luca AI, what's the best way to get in touch?
So you can find Luca AI on LinkedIn. That we're not really on social, so LinkedIn is where we post most of our stuff, and then our website is valerianfunds.com, and that's because Valerian Funds is kind of the mother company of Luca, which is the agent, the brand.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. So thank you for joining me today, Eric, and for this amazing podcast session. And for anyone listening, make sure to check on Luca AI socials below in the description because this episode was packed with value, and I can wait to see what you build next.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot,
Great.
Alexander. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you. Bye.